Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video where I'm going to go over one of the most overpowered builds in the game currently, or most overpowered build archetypes. And it combines two archetypes all together, and it is accuracy stacking along with Doryani's prototype. And here you can see some of the absolutely crazy damage, and this is not even close to how good the damage can possibly be. This build has it all. It has damage, it can be built tanky, and it is an overall powerhouse. And the funny thing is that it's not even a berserker, and people are actually playing on a Juggernaut right now. But this build is the #1 Spectral Helix profile. Someone actually linked it to me in my Discord, so I was like, oh, I'll probably do a video on this. I'll check out the build. And I have played this build archetype many times in the past, and it's never been super strong. It was really hard to use Doryani's prototype in the past, and people will use two precursors. But nowadays, there's the new reflection jewelry, and this build is another one that pretty much takes advantage of the new league mechanic and allows you to get an insane amount of damage that you wouldn't have been able to get in previous leagues. Now, accuracy stacking has always been one of the highest DPS archetypes in the game. However, it has always been really squishy. But after the Juggernaut rework, some people have found out that you could find some ways to mitigate the downside. And the downsides are really not that bad anymore, and some of the build types are actually extremely tanky. So if we go here, let's go take a look at the Spectral Helix build. And Spectral Helix, you can see #1 guys at 65 million. And this is a non-pop fluff profile. Like, he wasn't actually completely trying to cheat. If you actually look at my Discord, he actually said that he was trying to my attempt at Pop Warrior, and it should be 600 million DPS. And this is what he has right here, 260 million. And this doesn't account for elusive. But as you can see here, he has some different pieces of gear, and we'll go over what those pieces of gear actually end up doing. But Spectral Helix never really shows up super high on PoE Ninja because it doesn't really get Nightblade accounted for. So we actually want to see what's going on. We can import the profile here, and let's bring over the POB. And this is a very good case of what it means when certain skills are good on PoE Ninja. So if we actually look at this skill right here, we will see that's at 71 million. And part of the reason behind this is because we are using Nightblade support gem, but it doesn't give us elusive. So if we go over here and we go look at config and we actually check elusive, we see it's at 159 million. And another thing that this person is using is blitz charges with the forbidden jewels. So where is his forbidden jewels? Let's go see. Not there. Oh, right here. Forbidden jewel. So he has blitz, and then he has another blitz one right here. So this actually gives him 40% attack speed. But for some reason, PoE Ninja doesn't decide to give you blitz charges. But if you check the blitz charges, you can already see it goes all the way up to 223 million. And there are some other stuff you can do. You can also equip a frenzy gem, and PoE Ninja will give you frenzy. So you can see here, this profile that only looked like 65 million is actually at 250 million. So if you really wanted to boost the DPS of this profile, you could technically find another support gem, the Nightblade, like increased crit damage, and it would show up as a lot higher on PoE Ninja. But basically, the TLDR of this build is that the new jewelry, in conjunction with Doryani's prototype, has turned Juggernaut Accuracy Stacker into the most cost-efficient build if you want raw damage. I think right now, there is no other build in the game that can get this amount of damage. And if you actually wanted to look at a profile that I min-maxed a little bit more, this is pretty much a 1 billion DPS profile. And with reduced projectile speed shenanigans, which we'll see, it probably approaches way higher than 1 billion DPS. And the funny thing is, the gear is not really that great. It's not all mirror pieces of gear. Like, the only thing you can potentially even have mirror pieces of gear are the jewelry. So you can see here, this is some of the jewelry that exists now. You can get 1,200 accuracy rating. In the past, you were pretty much stuck at like 600 accuracy rating. You can get 85 crit multi, -57 lightning rest for Doryani's prototype, and +2 to level of all skill gems. So stuff like this makes it insanely optimal. So first off, we probably want to understand, how do we actually get so much damage? So it comes down to common sense, and that accuracy stacker needs as much accuracy as possible. But how does accuracy actually scale all your damage? So first off, you need base attack damage, and you get a bunch of base attack damage from the crocodile boots known as Storm Rider boots. So what Storm Rider boots actually does is it grants you 1 to 6 added attack lightning damage per 200 accuracy rating. at the downside of 25% less accuracy rating. So that's where you get all your base accuracy from. And you might be wondering, how much accuracy does this character actually have? It has 107,000 accuracy. So you can see here with some basic math that you get an insane amount of accuracy, or insane amount of flat damage, because you have so much accuracy rating. So same thing for here, 1% increased projectile attack damage per 200 accuracy rating on the helmet. So you can see here from the Obscurantis, the third one, we have plus 999 base accuracy. And then in terms of the, how much projectile damage you get from it, we get a whopping 537% increased damage from our accuracy rating. And then we also get some accuracy rating from percent increase in projectile damage from the skill gem, Divergent additional accuracy. And this one also gives us 4% increased attack damage per 1,000 accuracy rating. So you can see here, that's how the bulk of the increased projectile damage comes from. So this is all of your increased damage to scale. With 537% from our helmet, and then 428% from our, our alternate quality support gem. And then we have the claws, and these claws are insanely good in that they give 100% increased accuracy rating when you're on low life. And since we dual wield these, we actually have 400% increased accuracy rating right here total, or 200% increased accuracy rating total. And then we have another 400% increased damage because it has 200% increased damage with claws while on low life. And these claws are also super good because it gives us 25% increased attack speed when on low life. So all of this added together, these claws are insane, giving us around 200% accuracy rating and 400% increased damage. So we have an insane amount of increased damage at 1458%. And next up, you might be wondering, how do we get our crit chance? How are we actually at 100% crit chance? How much investment do we actually need? And it all comes down to this pair of gloves, which grants you 2% increased attack critical strike chance per 200 accuracy rating. If we take off the gloves, we're at 42% crit. So these little gloves pretty much give us around 100% crit. Now, next up, we want to get more attack speed. So we have base damage, we have projectile damage or increased damage, and now we have 100% crit. So now it comes down to, how do we get all of that attack speed? And attack speed is insane. It's at 27 attacks per second. And it all comes down to this one node on Juggernaut called Undeniable, which just grants us 1% increased attack speed per 150 rating. Unspec this node, it goes all the way down to 7.58 attacks per second from 26.99. And we actually want to see how much attack speed we gain for Undeniable. It is 716% attack speed. So overall, you can see that this build also has blitz charges. So if you actually take out blitz charges and Undeniable, I'm pretty sure it is going to be horrifically low, right? We take off the blitz charges right here, and then we go take off Undeniable. We took off the wrong thing. We can see we're at 5.42, and the damage is all the way down from 316 million DPS. So let's go re-click it on. So blitz charges 26.99 with it on. And in terms of penetration, all of our penetration comes from Doryani's prototype. Doryani's prototype has negative 200% lightning res, and all of our lightning res comes from the rings and amulets, and then we also have a thread of hope for some more negative resists. So overall, this build is extremely efficient because the pieces of gear are not very expensive, and it's also very synergistic. So you can see all of these pieces are not too bad besides Doryani's prototype. So like I said, the new jewelry is really what allows this build to take off. It's what allows you to get negative 200% lightning res so easily. And another thing is, it allows you to get non-channeling skills have negative 15 to total mana cost. And this gets the lightning strike, or spectral helix in this case, to have 0 mana cost. And this is a huge deal because our attack speed is so fast that you think that we would run out of mana super fast. But with these rings, you have negative 15 and you have it on both rings. That actually allows you to get to negative 30 really easily. Now, these jewelries also grant an insane amount of accuracy rating and increased global accuracy rating. So in the past, the best jewelry was Precursor's Emblem, where you would get accuracy rating per frenzy charge. Now, these jewelry are almost on par with triple precursors, I think, and it is actually crazy that this can actually exist currently. And I do think that a very good pair would actually beat out a triple precursors. Now, for people wondering what triple precursors actually looks like, or what a triple precursors means, and just to give you some perspective on how much these rings actually go for the triple precursors, I think in the past when it's been sold, it was roughly around, I think it was sold for like 5 to 10 mirrors, something around there. But let's see, accuracy. So a precursor can roll different mods, and it can actually have all the same mods. So here you can see accuracy rating, triple precursors. It has 10% accuracy rating per frenzy charge. Wait, is that actually right? Well, it would have 3 of these. So it would have 30% increased accuracy rating per frenzy charge, or 36% increased accuracy rating. So you would usually have like 9 or 10 frenzy charges, and in this case, you would get 360% increased accuracy rating per frenzy charge. And if you ever found one distly, you can mirror it with Calandra's Touch. But I think the rings are pretty close if you got some more damage stats, like if you got elemental damage with attacks or something. But I think precursors is still insanely strong and probably one of the best options in the end. Now, next up, we have the power of timeless jewels. And this is something that people don't really understand what's going on to scale all of the accuracy stacker's damage. And I'm going to show you what's going on. So Brutal Restraint right now. So you see this as like the Lord of the Rings or something, like, or the Olympics. Now, Brutal Restraint pretty much gives you 4 dex on every single node that's not a notable. And for the travel points, like the attribute nodes, it gives you +2. So you can see these int nodes gives you +2 dex. And then these notables, or these pathing nodes to the notables, gives you +4 dex. So what this means is that this thing, if you take it out, we lower our dex all the way from... Oh wait, so no, it doesn't work like that. So these are unallocated that gives it to you, but we don't really allocate anything on the travel path. Now, you can see all these nodes have +4 dex, or +4, +4. So what does this actually do? Well, this works in conjunction with Transcendent Spirit, which gives you +125 accuracy rating per 10 dex on unallocated passives and 2% reduced movement speed. Now, this is really, really important because these nodes actually make your movement speed really bad at times. So that's why having Whirling Blades is super, super important in making the build feel good. I remember I was playing Tornado Shot Accuracy Stacker in the past, and this would actually make the character feel really, really slow. So if you can see, if you unspec out of these jewels, you actually get +26% movement speed modifier, and right here is +22%. So you're losing 48% move speed by allocating these jewels. Now, if we see here and we unclick this, you might be wondering how much damage do we actually lose? Well, we're at 317 million DPS right now. We unclick both of these, we're at 228. We unclick this one, we're at 164. And then we have another one over here, we're at 146. Now, why does this actually happen? Because our accuracy rating goes down a lot. You see right here, we're at 75,000 accuracy. Once we click these back in, I think we go all the way back up to 107,000 accuracy. So these nodes are absolutely huge in terms of granting damage, and it's literally more than half of your damage. Now, it does grant us up to +1875 accuracy rating. This one here is actually the best one to circle down here. But this is something that aura stackers also do with Lethal Pride and Transcendent Flesh. And Transcendent Flesh just gives crit multi instead of accuracy rating. But accuracy rating scales this build a lot higher. And this is probably one of the cornerstones of the build that actually allows it to do so much damage. And it is a very interesting mechanic. Now, you might be wondering how tanky is this build? And the build is extremely squishy in this variant because it has 2898 HP. And it has to be low life with Petrified Blood. Now, you can get it to be very, very tanky. However, this character will always instantly evaporate if the character meets any Lightning Dot, Chaos Dot, or Ground Degen. No matter what you really do, it is a Doryani's prototype build, and you can't really make it giga tanky. You can build against Chaos Res to get a lot of Chaos max hit, but the problem is you will always instantly die to any Lightning Mirage or to any Lightning Dot, and that's just how it's always going to be. Now, the nice part about this build and why a lot of people are going Juggernaut is because you actually get a lot of defenses. Doryani's prototype is actually a pretty high armor chest at around 14 to 1500 armor. So you get armor received from body armor is doubled, and then 8% of armor applies to fire, cold, and lightning damage taken from hits. So this is actually a pretty big benefit in terms of helping out your survivability. If we unspec out of this node, You can see that it actually gives us 40% max hit, and that's actually just crazy. And Juggernaut also gets some endurance charges, which helps out with Fizz max hit. And right here, this makes it so that we actually can't be slowed or stunned. And overall, super squishy build for some things, but very tanky for other things. So if you can manage the lightning max hit and lightning dots, then this build is actually doable. If you're just using this to boss or something, then it's perfectly fine as you do bosses without any lightning dot or huge sources of chaos damage. Now, you might also be wondering how much cheating is in this profile. Now, if you wanted to look at the original profile is not using Darkness and Throne, and Darkness and Throne is actually super crazy because it grants us a lot of accuracy rating. So right here in this optimized profile here, I have a Darkness and Throne with 30% increased accuracy rating, while you have Onslaught with 75% increased effect of these jewels, which actually gives us around another 1,000 or so accuracy rating. Now, on the profile that I imported over for him, he does have some cheating going on. So he has Sniper's Mark enabled, and he has Assassin's Mark on his Oscar. So this stuff doesn't really work. And you never really want to be using Sniper's Mark because Sniper's Mark kind of messes up with the interaction with Spectral Helix, allowing the projectile not to multi-hit anymore, because as soon as it hits the boss once, it's going to split off, and it's not going to have the multi-hit shotgunning effect that Spectral Helix usually has. Point Blank is also really bad in general, unless you're using some reduced projectile speed shenanigans, which we'll see in a little bit. But Point Blank doesn't matter how far away the boss is, it matters how far the Spectral Helix actually spirals through its rotation. So in general, Point Blank is generally a damage loss. And as I said, Sniper's Mark should never really be used for Spectral Helix. Now, original profile is not really cheating. I'm assuming he changed it out. And Mage Blood is actually lower DPS, as you may see, than the Darkness and Throne that I made for the min-max profile. And the mana cost is right. We have 0 mana cost, so he can actually cast a skill even though his attack rate is that fast. And his reservation is fine, and he has some mana left over. So overall, the profile is not really that much cheaty. It's really a powerhouse damage profile, as you can see. Now, you might be wondering how much damage can this get if you actually abuse a reduced projectile speed? And the answer is probably somewhere in the billions. And that is not even a gross exaggeration. So, with reduced projectile speed, each projectile can hit the boss so many times. I think Jung was like testing it out. I don't know, it was like 9 to 10 times per projectile. So you take it to 9 to 10 times, and each hit is doing around like 370 mil DPS. You can just multiply it by 10, and it's a 3 billion DPS profile. And it really looks like that way. This guy's gear on this profile is not even that min-max. I took a look at it. It's probably like 20% of the DPS of the PoE Ninja profile. And you can see here, he's literally instantly phasing Uber Maven. So let's go see later on. So he's doing the memory game in the last phase, and I don't know where the boss is, but it's probably going to get evaporated. So right here, this fight is actually kind of scary for this build, purely because you die to any if you actually hit the lightning beam, I'm pretty sure. So, okay, so he has to dodge some stuff, so he can't really pre-stack it. But I'm pretty sure as soon as he gets on top of the boss, it's going to instantly evaporate. Oh, the boss finally teleported. You can see instantly evaporated with no pre-stack at all. So if he does like Uber Yeeter or Uber Siri Exar, I expect that the boss would instantly die. But the build dies to every dot in the game, but who cares with this amount of damage? If you wanted to make a Uber Bosser that would instantly phase any boss, and will be pretty easy to play on a kind of relative budget for how much damage it provides, this build is kind of like Cast on Death Discharge in a sense. It just does that much damage. Now, Accuracy Stacker can be built a lot tankier now because of the Juggernaut Ascendancy. And the funny thing is this build's damage is not even at its true potential. This build can actually reach probably around... Wow, the brain just got instantly evaporated. Man, it's actually crazy how much damage it does. But we can see here, Juggernaut is not even the best Ascendancy, right? So we could type in 1% increased accuracy rating. So what we can see here is that if you go Berserker, now, what happens? So if you go Berserker, you get Aspect of the Carnage. You also get Rite of Ruin, perhaps. Or you don't get Rite of Ruin, but you get that part of it. Oh, wait. Yeah, you get... No, you can't get Rite of Ruin. So we have to type in this thing. So what this thing does is gives you 1% increased attack speed per 150 accuracy rating. So we could also do the Forbidden Jewels, but I'm lazy. Percent increase attack speed per 150 accuracy rating. And it's at 400 million DPS. And the funny part is this profile never even cheated with Berserk. I realized just now. He added Berserk at 2020, and it's at a whopping 575 million DPS, which is absurd, right? And it's actually capped out on attack speed. And seeing how high this damage is, I'm probably going to try to make this character sooner or later as an experiment, because I do think Berserker with this would be the highest damage setup, Berserker with the Undeniable Jewel. So legitimately probably a 2 billion DPS profile. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this has enlightened you to the power of accuracy stacking with Doryani's prototype. But if you want to play this build, I highly recommend it. There are some guides out there that are a lot tankier than just this glass cannon variant. But I do think that this is one of the cooler variant or new builds that came out because of the new changes. But thanks for watching. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Mage Bloods than me. And see you next time. Bye.